Why would experienced climbers walk past a woman who was still alive? Why would her own husband climb back up into the death zone alone? And how did one summit attempt turn into one of Everest's most haunting legends? Her name wasn't Sleeping Beauty, but that's what the mountain turned her into. In 1998, Frances Arsenteieff wasn't chasing fame, she was chasing history. Her goal was bold: to become the first American woman to summit Everest without supplemental oxygen. Climbing Everest is already deadly. Climbing without oxygen pushes the human body beyond its design. Above 8,000 meters, in the death zone, oxygen levels are only about 1/3 of sea level. Your brain slows, your coordination weakens, your judgment fades. And yet Frances believed she could do it. She had climbed before, she had prepared, and she wasn't alone. Her husband, Sergei Arsenteieff, an experienced mountaineer himself, climbed with her. They were partners in life and on the mountain. Their summit attempt came late in the season. Delays had already cost them precious time. When they finally moved toward the top, conditions were deteriorating. Thin clouds began gathering, winds were rising. Climbers near the summit reported exhaustion, but turning back after coming this far feels like defeat. Reports suggest Frances reached the summit, but the summit is only halfway, and descending without oxygen is far more dangerous than going up. Somewhere during the descent, Frances and Sergei became separated, and that's where everything changed. By nightfall, Frances was high above 8,000 meters without oxygen, disoriented, her body shutting down from hypoxia. She could no longer descend on her own. The next morning, other climbers encountered her. She was alive, barely, frostbitten, delirious, unable to stand. Some accounts say she whispered, "Don't leave me." The climbers who found her were not heartless. They were also near their limits. At that altitude, stopping too long can kill you. Rescuing someone who cannot walk is almost impossible. Moving a body at 8,500 meters requires strength no one has, and oxygen they did not have. They tried to help, but she could not move. Their oxygen was running dangerously low. They faced the brutal decision Everest forces upon climbers: save yourself or likely die together. They descended. Frances remained. Meanwhile, Sergei had already descended lower to retrieve oxygen and assistance. When he realized Frances was stranded, he made the decision few would dare. He turned around. He climbed back up, alone, without supplemental oxygen, into the death zone, against failing weather, against exhaustion, against probability. He was last seen ascending toward her position. He never came back. His body was later found lower on the mountain. He had fallen during descent. Whether he reached Frances again, no one truly knows. But he went back for her, and the mountain took them both. Frances's body remained visible on Everest for years. Her jacket stood out against the snow. Her face was peaceful. Her body was resting as if asleep. Climbers began calling her Sleeping Beauty, not to mock her, but because her stillness was haunting. She didn't look like someone who had fought the mountain. She looked like someone who had simply closed her eyes. For nearly a decade, she became one of Everest's most known landmarks. Hundreds passed her. Some avoided looking. Some whispered her story. In 2007, a team of climbers respectfully moved her remains out of direct view, giving her more privacy and dignity. but the legend had already formed. Her story raises uncomfortable questions. Did summit ambition cloud judgment? Should they have turned back earlier? Should the climbers who found her have done more? But at 8,500 meters, morality is complicated. The brain is oxygen-starved, the body is failing, time is limited. Even the strongest climbers become fragile. From sea level, it's easy to judge. From the death zone, instinct becomes survival, and instinct is ruthless. Frances Arsenieff made history, but not in the way she intended. Her story became a warning about pushing limits without margin, about climbing without oxygen, about how quickly strength can turn into vulnerability. But it is also a story of love, because Sergei went back, into certain danger, into near certain death, for her. And that decision may be the most powerful part of this story. Mount Everest doesn't create heroes or villains. It magnifies choices. It forces decisions in impossible conditions. Frances wasn't reckless. She was ambitious. Sergei wasn't foolish. He was devoted. But the mountain does not adjust for ambition. It does not bend for love. It simply stands, cold, silent, unforgiving. If you were standing in the death zone, your oxygen is low, your strength is fading, and someone beside you is unable to move, would you risk everything to save them? Or would you descend and live with that decision forever?